I was just going deeper and deeper into a really dark and lonely place. You know, it impacted my ability to lead and be led, my ability to be a husband, a father, a friend. It impacted my ability to be the person I wanted to be.
We have a special program for you today with 2 TEDs and 2 Ignite Talks. We begin with a TED Talk. And our first speaker this morning spent 2 decades as a leader at Kaiser Permanente, mostly as CFO and senior operations executive. For much of that tenure, he dealt with severe yet undiagnosed depression and anxiety. Now, having discovered firsthand the benefits of a path to wellness, he encourages other leaders to find that same path. He founded Simple Mental Health to inspire and educate leaders to become mental health literate. Please welcome to the stage for his talk, The ROI of Mental Health, the Hidden Benefits of Leaders Who Become Mental Health Literate. Say hello to Mr. Adam Niemer.
Click, 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 click. You guys hear that? Man, that's the sound I heard coming from the heels of my fancy Italian loafers about 20 years ago on one of the best days of my career. You know, I was walking down the hallways of Sunnyside Hospital just outside of Portland, Oregon, and the thought crossed my mind, man, you're the CFO of this place today. You know, a job I probably wasn't ready for, but a job I talked him into giving me. And, you know, the only reason I didn't throw my hands in the air and celebrate having the greatest job in the world is I was fucking miserable. I couldn't breathe. I had this clutching pain in my chest that wanted to explode. I had anger I couldn't put my fingers on. I had an 18-year anxiety attack layered on top of severe depression, and I had no clue. I just thought that how I felt was what life was supposed to feel like. You know, the click, 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 click. I thought I was going further into my dream career, but I was just going deeper and deeper into a really dark and lonely place. You know, it impacted my ability to lead and be led, my ability to be a husband, a father, a friend. It impacted my ability to be the person I wanted to be. By all outside appearances, I had a dream life. But I was always so sad and so scared, and I couldn't control my emotions, and I didn't know why. Then about 7 years ago, something really special happened, something that shifted my life in the most profound way. A colleague at work, the senior executive, this guy named David Lake, he asked me to join him in his office one day. And when I got there, he asked me how I was feeling. You know, I had recently found my mom after she had passed away, and having learned the signs of someone who might be struggling with their mental health, he recognized a bunch of signs in me that worried him, and he wanted to help. So he asked how I was feeling, if I was doing okay, and oh my God, completely oblivious to the reality that at that moment in time I was slipping closer and closer into a state of near complete emotional collapse. I smiled and looked at him, and I was like, nah, man, I don't need any help. I'm doing great. So he asked if I knew what to look for in myself, you know, the signs that I might be struggling with my mental well-being. And after I said no, he slid the business card of our company's employee assistance program across the desk to me. And he was like, you know, give EAP a call. You know, it can't hurt. You should at least know the signs to look for in yourself in case you need to get some help. That 5-minute conversation changed my life. It started me out on a journey of recovery that's made the moment since then so much more full of love and joy and happiness. You know, that 5-minute conversation eventually led me to find my calling and inspiring leaders to think about mental well-being in their organizations differently, more culturally and holistically, with compassion, facts, respect, and vulnerability. You know, in just a 5-minute conversation, David helped shift my life on a completely different path. I wasn't surrounded anymore by this cacophony of clicking as I meandered down this hallway to my own destruction, but instead, David helped launch me on this new path, a path of self-discovery and healing, a path of hope and optimism, a path of spiritual awakening and fulfillment. And I learned that I wasn't on it alone. The path that David set me down by calling the EAP counselor, by going to therapy, by talking about my feelings with the important people around me in my life, I found that I was surrounded with a ton of folk who just wanted to help, support, and love me. And as I was open and honest with my mental health journey with teammates and colleagues at work, and as I genuinely cared about their emotional needs and mental well-being, you know what? You know, not only my life and the lives of some of my teammates changed, but our business performance changed. A high-performing team started hitting heights that I never would have thought possible. You know, what I hope you hear and take away from today, why I share all of this with you, is that it's time that we break through the traditional myths and stigmas of mental illness that's informed traditional business leadership. It's time that all leaders put mental health literacy in their professional toolboxes, right next to marketing, sales, human resources management, and all the other tools that we learn along the way. Right, knowing how to recognize that a colleague might be struggling with their mental well-being, knowing how to approach them thoughtfully, listen non-judgmentally, offer hope that recovery is possible, knowing how to encourage professional help and self-care. These tools are just as important for business leaders, knowing how to put a ROI analysis together, read financial statements, or lead a board of directors meeting. Right? I mean, just look at the data. Lancet Medical Journals reported that every dollar invested in mental health services returns $4 in improved health and productivity. It's a 300% return. Gallup Group recently found that Americans struggling with their mental well-being miss 4 times more work days, right? On the retention side, you know, this great resignation, Mindshare Partners found recently that 50% of millennials and 75% of Gen Zers have left the job for mental health reasons. Right? And then just this past year, the American Psychological Association found that 81% of Americans report that how a future employer will support our mental health will be a major consideration for us when we choose our next job. Right? So 81% of the people that you are looking to hire today expect you to already know and lead with all of this information, and they've proven that they'll leave you if you don't. Right? You know, the state of mental well-being in the American workplace today is so dire that just this past year, the U.S. Surgeon General named it one of the top 6 population health priorities in the United States. I mean, sit with that for a second. One of the top population health priorities for the U.S. Surgeon General on his website today, it's not homelessness, obesity, or opiate addiction. It's workplace mental health. Workplace mental well-being, it's how we all experience the environment and culture at work each day. The environment and culture established and perpetuated by our leaders. The environment and culture that it's our leaders' duty to do something about. A non-delegatable core accountability of leadership is to create an environment where all teammates can show up as their full selves every day. Be the best teammate they can be and perform at the top of their game. And, you know, that sort of leadership, it gets us back to that conversation in David's office 7 years ago. You know, as I walked in, I had no idea the severity of the mental illness I'd been experiencing for the last 18 years, let alone that I was struggling with my mental health at all, which is ironic, given where my story really begins. Earlier in life, when I was 29, I found my dad after he died of suicide. And I didn't get anywhere near enough help that I needed. You know, he was my best friend, my business partner, calm, cool, collected, strong as a rock, right? That's what we all saw. I mean, Mort Niemer, he was the last person any of us thought might be struggling with their mental health. And, you know, what happened next? You know, at the crossroads of my life where I needed it the most, and it would have prevented so much pain down the road. I had a couple therapy sessions and I went off into the world. I got an MBA, I got married, I grew this Forrest Gump-like lucky executive career. I mean, CFO of this huge hospital, CFO of a multi-billion-dollar health system. I was a senior executive accountable for the operations of a $4 billion health plan. You know, for this dude who only got into business because I wanted to hang out with my dad every day, I was doing pretty good as this accidental healthcare executive. You know, but at least I thought I was. But there were times, without knowing it, where I could be a monster to everyone around me. My colleagues at work, my friends, my kids, my now ex-wife. I raised my voice, I interrupted people when they spoke. I could be relentless, arrogant, and mean, defensive, impatient, cruel. I could be a real son of a bitch to everyone. But, you know, what I really was, I was just the son of a guy that had taken his own life. I was just the son who lost his icon, the son who didn't know where to go to deal with his pain, so I pushed it down. And I had no idea that I was using all of my strength and resilience just to keep it hidden from everyone around me, even from myself. But David Lake, a leader who had mental health literacy, a leader who just the weekend before had taken a mental health first aid class at his church, recognized the signs and he knew what to do to help. A couple days later, I went and saw the EAP counselor, and that hard work of recovery began. I started taking antidepressants, going to cognitive therapy, and I went to a specialized trauma therapy program, and that stuff helped. I learned some critical life skills, but I was still couldn't breathe. I was in so much pain. I was moving through life feeling like I was breathing through a straw. Then one day, I experienced the magical power of slow vinyasa hot yoga. And yeah, the next day, for the first time in a really, really, really long time, I took a deep breath. You know, I still have good and bad days, but eventually over time, I came out the other end. I came out happier and stronger than I ever dreamt I could be, with true self-love, self-respect, self-confidence. For the first time in my life, I came out forged. I came out forged with the knowledge there wasn't one damn thing the universe or serendipity or genetics can't throw my way that I can't overcome. And I started thinking about, you know, what it meant to me as a leader to know that so many of my colleagues could be struggling with their mental health on any given day, and it hurt so damn much. So we trained all of our teams in mental health first aid. And what I wasn't expecting was that as I started sharing my story with folk and they started sharing theirs, that our performance improved, like across the board. Employee engagement, productivity, retention, recruiting, every key performance indicator for our teams improved. Frankly, over a 20-year executive career at a $85+ billion company, going through mental health first aid training together as a team was the single best team development and professional growth activity I ever participated in. Yeah. You know, it taught me that becoming a mental health literate leader is really easy. You know, creating a culture of mental well-being on your teams is not hard at all. All you've got to do is take one class, use what it teaches you at work, and share the knowledge with people around you. It is that simple. I know it. I lived it. Now, a few months after I came back to work after my emotional collapse, we had an all-hands meeting with a couple hundred staff where I shared with them what was going on in my life. You know, a lot of them, they were used to seeing me around every day, and I hadn't been there for a while, and some of them were wondering, like, where's Nemer been? A couple days later, I went for a walk with this young with this guy on our team, this high-performing young leader from Colorado named Cameron. And as we were going for a walk, he started to thank me. He was shared that as a kid, his parents struggled with substance use. And he had subsequently tried or attempted suicide. And he tried therapy, it didn't seem to work. And he knew he didn't want to die, but he just thought the rest of his life was always going to be sad. And he was just thanking me because, he was just saying that, after he heard me, his boss's boss, his senior leader share that I was going through the same struggles, that even though it wasn't working yet, I was going to therapy and I was going to stick with it because I thought that it might down the road. He was just thanking me because it inspired him to try therapy again. And he had made an appointment for the next week. Yeah, it's amazing. Just remarkable. I had a chance to talk with Cameron not so long ago, and I am here to report that he is thriving, right? He's now a leader of teams in 3 states. He's happy, he's optimistic. He has a group of friends around him that supports him. And, and like David Lake, Cameron will tell you that if you want to grow your business, you got to take care of your people, right? And if you want to grow your career, you got to take care of yourself. And there's no simpler way of doing both of those things as a leader than simply taking a mental health first aid class and sharing what you learned with people around you at work and in your life. Now, look, it's time for me to shuffle on out of here. And what I want you to notice is that, you're not going to hear the click, 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 click anymore, right? Because like Cameron, like David Lake, and hopefully like all of you, I no longer walk alone. Thank you.
Adam Niebuhr.